All right, let's get started. I think, firstly, welcome everyone. Um, and thank you for joining our first webinar for 2024. My name is Movin, so I'll be your presenter for today. We're also joined by our technical marketing manager, Mariana Oneto. So she'll be helping us with the presentation as well to answer your questions. And if you have any problems, you can send a chat to her as well. So as you know, our topic for our webinar presentation is passive fire stopping certifications and the importance of third-party certifications. If you see me looking downward, that's because my camera is on the top of my screen and I have a little bit of cold, but I'll just make sure that it won't affect the quality of today's presentation. Now, before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today, the Wajik people of the Noongar Nation, and pay my respect to elders, both past and present. A brief introduction about myself. So I was started in Hilti over a year ago now, so pretty fresh. I'm a non-structural field engineer over here. I provide support in terms of passive fire protection and MEP supports. I did my mechanical engineering degree from Nepal a long time ago in 2004. And before Hilti, I was an area manager in Optus looking after the North area and looking after 10 plus store there. A little bit of housekeeping reminders. On your bottom right screen, you'll be able to see the Ask Question tab. Please feel free to ask any question you have during the webinar. Marina will be able to help us with answering those questions. Towards the end of the webinar, if you have some time, we can do the Q&A session again. If any of your questions are not answered, then we'll make sure that somebody from Hilti will get in touch with you and to answer those questions. In between webinars, we'll have, I think, around about 5 polls there. So poll questions are to confirm the understanding on the topic and also to get some engagement. So sometimes the webinar can be one way, so try to avoid that. This session is live and will be recorded as well. So after this session, you'll receive a link to this recorded version if you want to revisit it, and if you want to share with your fellow team members, please feel free to do so. So our agenda for today, so we'll start with a brief introduction to passive fire protection. Then we'll talk a little bit about Hilti research and development. Then we'll jump into our main topic for today, which is your third-party certification, and we'll talk about why it is important. Then we'll discuss different evidences of suitability in NCC. Lastly, we'll look into UL web page and look at UL certificate and see how the certificate looks like. And as I mentioned, if the time permits, then we'll look into, we'll go into our Q&A session towards the end of this presentation. But before we go into the presentation, let's look at the short video, which shows the basic concept of the passive fire protection and also shows the importance of compartmentation as well.
Typically, 5 minutes is all you get. Fire, and especially smoke, spread through a building much faster than most people think. Every year, about 3.8 million fires occur worldwide. While damage to assets is in the billions, The yearly death toll amounts to 45,000 persons. Much of this could have been prevented if correctly installed fire protection had been in place.
Architects, planners, engineers, and building owners are responsible for effective fire protection. Oftentimes, they do not realize that Firestop is not an option. It's a clear legal requirement, and negligence or improper execution is a violation of the law. Nearly 60% of fire deaths are not in the room of the fire's origin, and 3/4 of all fire deaths are caused by smoke. When there are through penetrations in walls and floors, toxic smoke easily spreads to adjacent rooms. The keys to effective fire protection are both active protection, such as detectors and sprinklers, but also passive protection. Passive means that penetrations in walls and floors have been sealed with approved Firestop products. This principle is called compartmentation. When installed correctly, fire and smoke won't be able to spread from one compartment to another. This allows for safe evacuation of people and protects valuable assets. The thing about compartmentation and fire protection is it's only as good as the products you use. One always thinks that accidents only happen to other people. That's a false conclusion. It is the responsibility of architects, planners, engineers, and building owners to protect lives and assets by effective and well-designed compartmentation.
Well, that was a very nice video, and I think it is. It also illustrates how fast the smoke and fire travel. If you've noted the time that was shown in the video, it also talked about like concept of compartmentation and showed like different kind of different kind of fire protection measures that is in building. So in a building, there will be different kind of fire protection measures that is in place. For example, your detection system. So some of the examples are your fire alarms, your smoke detection, your gas detection systems. So if the fire propagates or the smoke or harmful gas propagates, the occupants need to be alerted, and that is the way to do that in the building. The next one is your active fire protection. So the example of that one will be sprinklers, your fire extinguishers. And the concept over here is to suppress the fire or smoke by cutting off the source of the fire itself or oxygen. The next one, which is a topic of our interest for today, is your passive fire protection. It relies on the concept of compartmentation as discussed in the video. So limiting the spread of the fire from the place of the origin to the other part of the building. And some of the examples are your fire doors, your passive fire protections product that is applied in the penetrations and the joints, right? So, and we'll be talking about why the third-party certification for such product is important today, okay? But I also should mention that effective fire protection is a balanced approach between both passive and active measures. Now, going back to the fire compartmentation, also known as fire zones, as discussed, it is the concept is a globally renowned concept, first of all, and it's well defined in NCC. So the concept is to limit the spread of the fire or smoke or harmful gases from the place of origin to the other part of the building, so that occupants can be rescued. The fire exits and your corridors are safe and for a period of time, so the occupants can be rescued. Emergency services can reach out in time and carry out the rescue operation, and also to a level to maintain the structural adequacy of the building as well, so that the rescue operation can be carried out. Okay, so there are two types of compartmentation, ways of compartmentation. So one is called vertical compartmentation, created by fire-rated walls, right? As you can see in the picture, the fire-rated walls are protecting fire from spreading to the corridors. The other one is your horizontal compartmentation. So the concept over here is to build the fire-rated floors so that the fire and smoke doesn't jump to a different level. So in a building, normally both the vertical and horizontal compartmentations will be in place to divide the building into different compartmentation zones. And NCC provides a great explanation on how these buildings, depending upon the occupancy and the class of the building and the type of the building, how these buildings should be divided into different fire zones. Now, we mentioned about the concept of compartmentation, and we mentioned about the fire-rated building elements, the floors and the walls to create those compartmentations. But we also need to acknowledge that different services need to penetrate through these walls and floors, right, in the building, like your cable trays, your cables, power and communication cables, your HVAC pipes, your plumbing pipes. And there will be also joints and joint gaps to allow natural movement of the building as well. But having said that, these gaps and these penetrations are the natural pathway for fire and smoke as well, and that's where it's spread from, right? So what it means is as soon as there is a penetration, as soon as there is a gap, the fire rating of that building element or the compartmentation immediately becomes 0. And these penetrations and the gaps needs to be fire treated, to retain the FRL, minimum FRL rating of that building element, right? So having said that, these fires, passive fire stopping can be divided into 3 categories. The first one is through penetration, as discussed in the previous slide. So some of the examples, as you can see, is your HVAC pipe, the metal pipe, insulated metal pipes, your plumbing pipes, your cable trays penetrations. And you can find the deemed to satisfy provisioning in NCC in part C4D15 for such through penetrations. The second category is your construction joints. So the example of that can be your top of the wall joint, wall to wall joints, floor to floor joints, your expansion joints. So any kind of static or dynamic joints can be is included in this category. And the deemed to satisfy provisioning for that one is part C4D16 in NCC 2022. The last one we have got is your perimeter joints. So it's normally your fire-rated floor touching the non-fire-rated, the joint between the fire-rated floor and non-fire-rated curtain wall or facade system. And you can notice that there is no deemed to satisfy provisioning written over there because there is none. So basically, this kind of performance, it doesn't mean that because there is no deemed to satisfy provisioning, it doesn't mean that we do not have to treat it. All right. So normally the performance requirement of such is met by a performance-based solution. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, we have some poll questions. For each poll question, I'll allow 30 seconds for you to answer. These are very simple questions. So you must have, on your screen, the first poll question must have popped up. So what's your role in the fire industry? Well, thank you for answering the poll questions. Now, let's move on to our next topic for today, which is Hilti Research and Development Center. So I'll only talk briefly about the R&D Center, so you know what we do in there. But before we do that, I think just want to reiterate Hilti's fire protection purpose, that is to save life, protect assets, and improve building performance. So how we do that is by ensuring our products will work when needed to the desired fire performance anywhere in the world, and also to ensure our products will prevent harmful smoke and gases passing across compartmentations. And not only that, that our Firestop product will meet additional requirements of building design, like your acoustic movements, mold, mile and dew, water resistance, air tightness, etc. And if you need any of these certificates, you can contact Hilti and we'll be providing that one, right? Now, this is our Hilti Research and Development Center in Kaufering, Germany. I believe, Mariana can correct me in this one, I believe this is the second largest site for Hilti after our headquarters in Shan. So in that development center, there are different business areas for electric tools, accessories, and fastening. Also, fire production is one of them, right? We do have the competence center over there as well. For different business areas like electrical tool approvals, prototyping, analytics, etc. And it is also the Center for Research and Chemistry Technology. And fire testing is one of them. So we conduct fire testing in our R&D center. One of the interesting facts is, I want to highlight is annually 25 to 35 new products are in average are developed in R&D center, and that's pretty significant. So we invest around 5% of our turnover annually in R&D to develop new processes, new technologies, and new products. So in 2022 alone, 750 million Australian dollar was invested, where the turnover was 10.5 billion. So that is a testament of our strong R&D. One of those examples in terms of Firestop, in terms of innovation, is preform devices. Now, foams and sprays and sealants, they are all approved products, and they're well and good as well. But the thing is, you need a little bit of skill to apply those kind of Firestop. It needs to be applied to certain depth. Certain annular gap needs to be maintained. The services need to be supported at certain distance, and it needs to be cured as well. So preform device in that way eliminate those kind of challenges. First of all, it is easy and fast to install and avoids human mistakes, or I should say minimizes human mistakes. The cost of maintenance and even the cost of installation is reduced if you look at the overall cost, because it's very productive and it's easy to install. And it's easy to inspect in comparison to the sealants as well. The Firestop is already integrated in the device, and as you can see from the picture itself, you can tell it is easy for inspection. And all of our Firestop product, not only the preformed devices, are code compliant and reliable. And they have third-party certificates as well. And it also provides coverage for additional important attributes, as mentioned before, for movement, water resistance, air tightness, mold and mildew, acoustic, etc. Okay. Now we'll jump into our main topic for today, which is our third-party certification. All right. So what is third-party certification, right? So third-party certification means that the independent organization has reviewed the manufacturing process of a product and has independently determined that the final product complies with specific standards for safety, quality, or performance. So therefore, then accreditation body must first provide an accreditation for the third-party certifiers to allow them carrying products for a certain field of application, such as fire safety. And in Australia, ZAZANS, which stands for Joint Accreditation of Australia and New Zealand, is the authorized accreditation body who shall approve both the certification schemes and the certifiers. The review of the third-party body includes inspections and auditing for both production process and the product itself. It includes formulation and raw material reviews, fire testing, facility inspections, sampling, etc. So once the product is certified, will usually bear the certifier's mark on their packaging. So it is easy for recognition by the end users. And the third-party approval will be published publicly in their website, the third-party organization's website. Right. So the third-party certification is a comprehensive process, right? It's a process to verify the compliance, quality, and the performance of certain product. It represents the quality for the entire production line, unlike the testing, which represent the performance of the product subjected to that test only, and don't endorse what will be supplied to our end users, right? Finally, I shall highlight that these processes are continuous process, so it's not a one-time process, all right? That means maintaining the third-party certificates also require maintaining a high quality of mass production of the product for entire supply life of it, right? So if we are supplying it in the market, then we need to maintain that quality of the product as well, okay? Now we understood a little bit what the third-party certification is. We'll look into third-party certifications and why it is important, right? But before we do that, we have another poll question, right? So that must have appeared in your screen. So the question says, quality issues in which items below can lead to non-compliance of pacifier production? Is it A, product, B, installation, C, raw material, D, production, or E, all of above? Well, thank you for answering. Right, so it should be all of above, isn't it? Like all of those. If there is a quality issue with any of those, product installation, raw material production, that can lead to non-compliance of pacifier production. Right. Now let's first highlight, fire stopping development stages and what are the critical considerations in each of these stages. Right. So usually, product development starts with an idea to fulfill certain need, right, of the customer or the product. For example, developing product to seal and protect a service penetration, let's say. The research starts with the concept design and general specification of the product, such as composition of the product and the main product structure, all the way to producing the initial prototypes. This step includes several internal testing for the physical properties of the product, including adhesion, pressure, resistance, movements. If it's an intumescent material, then intumescence reaction properties. If the product is with the base material, and so on and so forth. Okay. After this, we provide the access for the official testing institute to do the sampling of those prototypes and proceed with the first official fire testing. And this more or less covers the product prototype evaluation. And now we are ready for our first samples on real production line. Now, products are now ready for mass production and it will be supplied to the market, right? And probably there will be several additional testing may be conducted from the initial production. So now what we have to think is what can go wrong during the phase of mass production. So things like the changes in design, changes in raw materials, composition, production process, machineries, skill set of the people. So all of these things can change, right? So all of these variations usually happens quite often, and they have a high impact on the quality of the produced product. Meaning, what we previously tested to achieve a certain FRL might not produce the same result if we retest again, right? Here, so this is why here the third-party certification plays a vital role to maintain high quality standard and confidence in the product conformity. The process includes like sampling of from the production line and evaluation in comparison to the original prototype to ensure both are identical. And if any changes accrued, then re-evaluation or retesting might be required. Also, the third-party certifier sets up a quality assurance plan for the particular product, which includes auditing and inspection of the manufacturer, product, and also market product sampling and evaluation whenever required. So now everything is done. Finally, the product certification will be issued and added to the third-party public directory for easy reach for the end users, as I mentioned before. And furthermore, each product will carry their certifier mark in the packaging. Right? And one thing I need to mention here is these processes are a continuing process, right, over a lifetime of the production line in order to maintain the certification. So it is just not just a one-time test, and that test can be reused for a period of time. So if you need to keep that certification, then this process needs to take place, and we need to maintain the quality of manufacturing. Now we move into now we would like to discuss further in terms of importance of a third-party certification. Here, I would like to refer to some publications from two globally renowned certifiers, and we'll start with UL, which is Underwriter Laboratory. They're Australian product conformity brochure. So I'll be probably reading from the slide. So they mention that the product conformity represents the foundation of community safety objectives. Without confidence in product conformity assessment, it isn't possible to have confidence in design, installation, or approval process to deliver safe building and encourage economic investment and growth. So also from international standard ISO 17067 defines product certification as follows. So I'll be reading from the slide again. So product certification is an established conformity assessment activity that provides confidence to consumers, regulators, industry, and other interested parties that products conform to the specified requirements, including, for example, product performance, safety, interoperability, and sustainability. Okay. So if I were to summarize all of this, the third-party approvals provide confidence to all stakeholders that what have been supplied can meet the specifications and the FRL of what have been installed and tested previously at lab. So what it means is if an item has third-party certification, it means that its buyers and specifiers can have confidence that it has been endorsed by an independent third party, meaning an independent organization which is not connected in any way to the maker or supplier has inspected the product, their manufacturing process, system or services, and has determined that it is compliant with codes and legislation requirements. Now, further on the importance of third-party certification. Also, Warrington Fire has published a very important technical document, actually, highlighting the current issues in Australian market with regard to the lack of quality assurance space of the passive fire protection. So your Warrington Fire is accredited testing laboratory over here in Australia, and also Hilti also does carry out lots of local testing with Warrington Fire. So probably I'll just want to highlight some of the snippets from the technical document, and I'll be reading from the slide again. So what it mentions is presently passive fire product manufacturers in Australia carry out fire resistance testing on their products in accordance with the relevant Australian standard, then proceed to manufacture and sell the product based on performance achieved in that single test. So there is no need for further testing or checks of that product or the manufacturing process for the lifetime of the product. Now, the issue with this is there is uncertainty of the quality of the mass-produced product to the end user compared to that submitted for original fire resistant testing. Now, many manufacturers also continue to use that test data from standards up to 4 iterations ago, and which can be over 20 years old. Even if there is no internal changes to the manufacturing process of a particular product, over that period of time, there are going to be changes in equipment, staff, sources of material, etc. And each of these areas will have an impact on the quality of the product that is produced. Right. So I think from this, technical document and from this statement from the Warrington Fire and what we've discussed previously in terms of process of third-party certification, we can understand how that third-party certification can, tackle these issues, these current issues in Australia, in terms of the pacifier predictions, certifications and approvals. Now that we have established the importance of the third-party certifications, we'll look into different evidences of suitability from NCC. So currently, there are 6 evidence of suitability in NCC. Some of them are relevant to passive fire stopping that suppliers mainly utilizes in the test so those are your test report or regulatory information report, which we call RIR, as the main approval document submitted to their end users as evidence of compliance. Okay. There's also certificate issued by the certification body. This is actually the third-party certificate we are discussing today. So historically, there were no approved schemes or certifiers by ZAZANs, which is required by the code. But currently in Australia, there are 2 accredited certifiers, and some manufacturers have already started to go down this path. Now, what I should mention is now, even though the code didn't put these accepted evidences in any hierarchy, it is from our previous discussion, it is important to highlight that the third-party certification has some more conservative approach and requirement. As mentioned before, it doesn't include required testing evidences. Sorry, it does include, it does include required testing evidences plus the full quality assurance requirement. Now, here it is important for building practitioners and designers to look into the risk assessment when they review any approval document. What will happen if simply the product didn't work as expected? This can lead to failure in entire building safe fire strategy within it. So only third-party certified product can guarantee the performance of the installed product, if installed correctly, of course, right? And can meet the fire resistance level of the originally tested product, simply because the third-party certification can confirm that the product that has been tested and supplied are identical. Okay. Now further, probably I want to highlight some of the current challenges with the third-party certification and the market reforms to see what's happening in this area. So I'll just probably read out from the slide again. Sorry, let's just go one back. Okay. So first of all, this third-party approval for Firestop is optional, right? So that is one of the challenges. And there is no mandatory auditing for productions and quality of supplied products there. And there's no sampling required. Lab tests, what manufacturer provides them. So actually, we provide the sample to the laboratory to be tested. And quality of supplied product can't be guaranteed to ensure a continuity of meeting the design of originally tested product, which we already discussed before. And there is unfair competition because there's no hierarchy. There's unfair competition between certified product versus non-certified product. Okay, it's not a doom and gloom entirely, though, right? So we do have some market reforms. There are some measures at policy level, as well. So one of them is in 2019 Building Conference report from Minister of Building released with 24 recommendations, where recommendation 21 mentions of establishment of a compulsory product certification system for high-risk building products. But despite it is still optional approval path, the Building Code of Australia, Building Code Board, ABCB, released a consultation draft in 2021, okay, to mandate surveillance, labeling, and traceability for the essential products. So we can see that there is a clear acknowledgement about the gaps in the quality assurance space, and some good initiatives from all relevant stakeholders to enhance quality and traceability of the product supplied to the end users. Sorry about that. So in 2025 update of NCC, so what we are hoping or expecting to see is hierarchy in evidence says of suitability, which will place certificate issued by third party on the top accepted form of document to meet the performance requirements. Okay, so this is something that our codes and approval manager has been working, Hani has been working on as well, and we are more likely to see this in NCC 25-26 update, right? Now, I think once we have established what the third-party certification is, and we talked about the importance of third-party certification and spoke about the evidence of suitability, and said, I think it's time for a third poll. So the question must have popped up in your screen. Mentions which documents below are listed in the NCC as evidence of suitability. Is it a test report, RIR, or test certificate, third-party certifications, or technical data sheet? So 30 seconds to answer this question. All right. Okay. Thank you for answering the poll, third poll for today. So basically, all of these documents listed are listed in NCC as evidence of suitability. So now we quickly move to our probably the last section of today. We'll look into the UL webpage and locate the UL certificates, for the Firestop products, and also show, run through the UL certification as well. For that one, I'll probably quickly need to exit my screen and jump on to the Google Chrome. Right. All right. I believe that all of you can see the screen now. So I already have the login account for UL website, and I believe Marina will be sharing some of the links to these websites in your chatter. So if you don't have any account, you can create it for free in your webpage. So I hope that I remember my password. I've tried it before. So I'll try to log in now. It was not working yesterday, but in the morning it was working. So let me just see. See, I already faced with the hiccup. So I'll try one more time. Okay, it's already logged in. I can already see. So you can search by the product name. If you have a product model number, anything, you can search by that. I normally put it as ULAU. So I'll just search by that and see what comes up. So obviously it gives me a list of documents, but I want to only see for Hilti. So I'll just type in Hilti in the company name. Right, and it should give me the list of the UL certificates, right? So if I go like one step further, you can see, there are two certificates. So let's click on one of them. And I can see that this is for Hilti Firestop plug CFS PL. You can also see that there is a ULAU mark. It is issued on 2023-11/01 and revised on 6th of November. And the expiration is on 2030/3, and the standard is AS 1530.42 and 14. You can also download the certificate by clicking into this link over here, right? Which will download the certificate for that plug. Okay, here we are, right? If you want to see the validity of the certificate, you can also jump onto Zazan's official website, and you can check the certificate. right? You can type the accreditation body, which is UL for us. And you can select the certification scheme, which is UL-AU mark scheme. And then you can select the standard we're looking after and apply. So this shouldn't take long. So you can see the list of certificates from Hilti is there now. So if I click on any of that, let's see what happens. So it will tell me what this certificate is for. So it is for the Firestop form. It'll also tell me when the current certification date and expiry date, and more important, it'll tell me the status of that certificate is active. So obviously, if it's not active, that it is not valid, right? And if you use your phone to scan that QR code, it will take you to this page. Okay. Also, you can go to our Hilti web page. So you can click on products. You can search by product name if you know the product name. Otherwise, you can go to products. You can go to Firestop and fire protection. Then let's pick one. So let's pick Firestop blocks and plugs. Okay, and we'll jump into Firestop plug, right? So that will take you to the product page, right? So there are lots of things over here. So if I scroll down slowly to the bottom, you will see that there are approval documents over here. So you can see there is a RRR, so Regulatory Information Report from Warrington Fire that is our accredited testing laboratory, and there is a third-party product certification as well. So I'll just click one for our session. So a few other things that you can note in that UL certificate is, first of all, there is a certificate number, date of issue, date of revision. It also gives you who holds this certificate as well. So Hilti Proprietary Australia, Limited, and where it is manufactured. Okay. It also tells you about the testing standard as well over here. And, you can see the logo of Zazans, and it also mentioned what is the who is the certification body, and the certification officer has signed the document as well. Okay, and you'll see the UL mark. In the second page, you can see a little bit of elaboration in terms of standard and what it means. So it mentions that it has been tested to AS standard 1530.4 and AS 4072, or an equivalent or more severe test, and the fire resistance level nominated in Appendix A. So this is where the standards have been mentioned, which the certificate refers to. So in the next page, it mentions that every certified product and only certified products will have this UL mark on them with a unique number, right? And as you go along, you will see like more information in terms of that Firestop product, right? So probably I'll highlight a few of them, right? So you can see I think the first thing I really like about this UL certificate compared to the approval document was how nicely it was and cleanly it was laid out. And it's pretty easy to find the information in that UL certificate. So here it's showing, so the accepted form of flexible and rigid walls and how it should be constructed, and and if there is a beading required, so if the minimum thickness of the wall is not met, then probably we need to apply the beading, and what is that beading requirement. So I'll just pick examples. As you can already see that, so the figures itself are really well illustrated as well. Okay. But I'll just pick some other example as well. Like, for example, it shows you the distancing requirement between the services, how far the services should be from the edge of the penetrations, and between the services, how much distances need to be maintained. And probably I'll just pick this example where, it's showing the rigid wall and also double layer plasterboard and different like services penetrating through. You can already see that each of these product has been itemized and tagged, right? So for example, A1 is your Hilti Firestop intermittent sealant. Your A2 is your Hilti Firestop putty bandage. Okay, and in the table it is nicely written down, like if you have a cable size of diameter 21, what do you need to do? If it's a bigger cable bundle or a single cable, what needs to be done? So for example, your PVC insulated power cables, your standard D1 set cables, if you want to achieve FRL of 120 or 120, then you need to apply Hilti intermittent fillers A1 and Hilti Firestop putty bandage A2. Okay, so if you go back to that picture, so you can see that if you have a standard D1 set cable bundle passing through, then you need to you need to apply the plug from the both side. Where the cable touches the plug, we need to apply the CP611A as a filler, and on the both side you need to have a bandage wrapped around. Okay, for your for your integrity and to achieve the FRL rating. Now, if we quickly go down to the last page, obviously I'm not going to go through each pages, but if we quickly go down to the last page of the certificate, it will refer to all the test reports, that it is based on, the report is based on. So you can find it on the last page in appendix section. Okay, so I hope if you have any questions, obviously I can answer during the Q&A session on this one. But let's jump back to our presentation, right? And sorry, I hope you're able to see that. So as mentioned before, so every product packaging should have a UL mark. So one of the interesting thing about that UL mark is there is a QR code as well. So if you scan the QR code, it will take you to the UL page, and from there you can download the certificate. And all of our product, for all of our products, we do have, I think, except for sealants and some of the bandages, we don't have updated the UL certificate in our website yet. But apart from that, every other products, have got the UL certificate, and we have updated. For the sealants, it is under process and it will be updated soon. Now it's time for our poll number 4. So the question must have popped up on your screen. It mentions, how likely would you prefer third-party certificates to be used on your projects? So I'll give you some time to answer that question as well. So thank you for answering that poll question. Probably what I'll do is, I think we have come to the end of the presentation. So I'll open up the floor for Q&A. And also I would like to mention that, we do have other webinars, line up for this year. And I think Marina and our Hilti team is under process of, preparing for those webinars. So please feel free to, provide us with the feedback, any improvements that you think that we need to, do in our webinar presentations or the content of the webinar. Please, you can use your phone to scan the QR code and provide us with the feedback. So having said that, probably I'll just open up our Q&A section, and hope that you have enjoyed today's webinar presentation. Right. So Mariana, if you're there, can we please open up the floor for the questions?
Yeah, hi Mobin. So yeah, it's open if anyone has any questions. We haven't had any questions so far, but maybe let's give it a few minutes.
Yeah, no problems.
So maybe if you just jump to the next slide while we wait for questions.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So while we're waiting for the question, we do have a last poll. So would you like to speak to a Hilti engineer for a follow-up discussion on any of the topics discussed today? So if you want to discuss one-on-one, we can provision that as well. So please feel free to answer this question as well. Yeah. Thank you for answering the poll question. Do you have any question, Marina?
No, I think your presentation was very good. So no questions.
I hope so. Sorry about a little bit of. I had a little bit of cold, so I tried my best to not affect the presentation. But I think finally, how I want to end this is give you a little bit of insight on what is in store for us for 2024. These are the schedule for our webinars for 2024. We've just covered the first one, and we have some really interesting topics. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. You can also go to Ask Hilti webpage to see what sort of presentations are lined up as well. And feel free to join and spread the news to your colleagues and friends as well. Okay. So thank you once again for joining today's webinar session. I hope you enjoyed this session, and learned something about the third-party certification. And hopefully I was able to convey the message why it is so important, right? And why Hilti is moving on this path of getting the UL certification of our pacifier protection, right? As again, if you have any questions, you can reach out to us even after this webinar presentation. And yeah, please feel free to share the recording of this presentation with your colleagues. So thank you very much and have a wonderful day.